Let's get a bit more, though, on how she views things and what sort of trading activity we've seen in Bank of Queensland. Gemma Dale, Director of SMSF and Investor Behaviour at the NAB, joins me at the desk this morning. Gemma, great to have you on board.
Hey,
Tell us about Bank of Queensland, what you've been watching there. I mean, there's been a lot of pressure. It was a pretty disappointing result. What have we been seeing from, trading activity from SMSFs and mum and dad investors?
Yeah, so our investors, this is the nabtrade side of things. And you're exactly right, it is a core retail base, mums and dads, SMSF investors. We do have a group of active traders who are extremely active in the market, and they will very aggressively trade the things that they like. But the core is a real buy and hold strategy for our investors. They saw BOQ come off nearly 5% yesterday, and they were all over it. So 96% buy yesterday.
Right.
It topped our confirmations, which is highly unusual, right? So the confirmations do tend to follow your top 10 pretty closely.
Yep.
This was quite an unusual day. I would say we will see more buying today if the price is off again. So, and we saw earlier during reporting season when some of the other regional banks were being sold off, they were also buying BOQ then and Bendigo. So when they saw the banks come off, they'll buy them. What has been really interesting is they have been selling down the majors for quite a while. So all the way through last year, we saw them making a bit of a cyclical rotation more than anything else out of financials and definitely selling out of the big four. So we saw this continual sell down from the big four, starting with our SMSF investors. They were quite aggressively onto that early last year and kept going throughout the year. So 48 out of 52 weeks last year, they were net sellers of all stocks, which is quite unusual. They're generally net buyers.
Yes.
So they were net sellers of all stocks, but they were selling financials fairly aggressively during that period. We started to see them creep back into the banks, which is quite surprising. So CBA and NAB have been in their sort of top 5 buys in the last couple of days, and then BOQ obviously was a bit of excitement for them yesterday.
Fascinating hearing that, because you look at the share price move and you'd think that everyone's selling out, but in fact that's not the case.
Someone's buying on the other side, right?
Exactly.
They're our guys. They have this fairly long-term view, most of them, and they see anything that they would consider to be a blue chip or a longer-term potential stock, they will buy and hold it. And they buy it on weakness, so they have this fairly contrarian view for any kind of pick-up on little bits and pieces. So often the trade sizes won't be huge, but it will be just adding and accumulating where they can, where the price is off.
What else looks to be buys across the market at the moment? We've spoken so much about the tech plays and Afterpay.
Yep.
Is that still a buy?
So Afterpay is still in there, which is blowing my mind after the year that it's had. It's been fascinating. It's up nearly 100% since some regulatory concerns earlier in the year, and investors still buying it. So it was in the top 2 buys yesterday, which was amazing. So they're still really keen on it. The 2 that came through really strongly this week, one is called Nearmap, which is, it's not a tiny stock by any means, it's quite sizable. The technology is quite interesting, and it's an area that a lot of our investors would have any exposure to, so aerial mapping and aerial photography that gives people access to higher quality images and higher quality resolution than satellite. So investors get access to something that's clearly not well represented in their portfolio. That's not something they have a lot of. And the other one was in the medical space, and so there was quite a bit of activity in Avita Medical. They were trading that really actively. So it was only a 52% buy, but the number of confirmations was huge. This was the same group of people in and out really aggressively. The stock moved 12% that day. So there were people getting in, taking the run up, and then getting out again really quickly.
Yes. One of the big stories around this week obviously was Crown and Wynn Resorts. There was initially the speculation that Wynn was coming in, and then Crown released this statement, shares popped. Wynn then came out and said, no, it's off the table, and shares dropped. But still seem to be trading with a bit of a takeover premium. I'm sure there was a bit of activity taking place in Crown. 96%
sell that day from our guys. So that, as you say, the price is up nearly 20% that day. Our investors just saw that as a golden opportunity to take some profits, and they were out really quickly. And then we haven't seen them buying back in, which is interesting. So I think they felt that was as much opportunity as they were going to get there.
Yes.
Took it and walked away.
Yeah, right. And what about what else we've been seeing selling in? The mining stocks we've spoken about so much, the extraordinary run up. But we're starting to see some profits taking off the table.
So we have seen 3 big sales for our investors this whole year. So our cash book is really high at the moment, which is representing a lot of profit taking, and that is in Fortescue, it's in BHP, and it is also in Telstra, interestingly enough. So that's not a profit taking story. But the other 2 very clearly investors seeing it as an opportunity to just get some cash out and on the table, leave it there for something else. They've really enjoyed that ride. Most of them have been long-term holders of those two stocks and taking profit. So as you say, there's a lot of buyers in the market. Our guys are the sellers on those ones. They're enjoying it.
Fantastic.
Internationally though, so Uber has filed now for their listing.
Yep.
We've seen a whole lot of buying in Lyft.
Okay.
So it's like, oh goodness, let's play this game of getting into the ride-sharing apps. Now that we know where Lyft sits relative to Uber, so Uber is substantially larger. In their filings, you can see how much greater their reach is mostly, and their revenue, but their loss is actually far more substantial also. So interestingly enough, investors buying Lyft in anticipation of the Uber IPO.
All right, fantastic, Gemma. We'll have to wrap it up there. Really appreciate your time there this morning. Thank you so much. Gemma Dale joining us there from the NAB.